Welcome to Breaking Barriers. Do you need some inspiration to take your life to the next level? Are you ready to propel or change your career? How about branch out and start something completely new? Well, guess what? You are in the right place. Come laugh with us, come learn with us, as we hear the personal stories of failures and successes from amazing women who will inspire you to take action.
And now introducing your host, President and co-founder of Women Leadership Nation, Jennifer Laddiser.
Well, thanks so much for agreeing to be on the podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here, Jennifer. I mean, we're going to talk about a subject that I think both of us are passionate about, and that is success for fellow women.
Absolutely. So as I start with all of my guests, I always ask the question, when you were younger, what did you want to be?
Well, here's the thing when I sort of answer this, and it's a bit of a tribute to my dad. And the tribute to my dad was that he, a new immigrant coming to this country for his young daughter. He's, for one thing, he raised me in the same way that he raised my brother and my sister. And what he created was this incredible supportive environment that said, listen, you can be anything you wanted to be. So the truth of it was that it was a whole lot of room to discover who you are and to find what you were passionate about. And for me, it was in service of people.
Wow. So you always knew from the very beginning, you want to make a difference. And I think that a key message there is the idea of making sure from the very beginning, you're inspiring your young women, your young men to actually do the best that they can. So, when you say, for example, when you first went off to school, what was it that you were studying? Did you know you always wanted to be in politics, or did you know how you wanted to help people?
I didn't. I mean, as you said, what I learned and understood and what I love to do was actually in service of people. So if you look at my career, it has been in education, working with young people and students. It has been with, the education minister at the provincial level, putting together some extraordinary policies that help to reduce class sizes or rebuild schools, and just creating this incredible environment, where educators and the administration, really work together, on the focus of student success, or for, just working in public service. I think that there's nothing more honorable and noble to be able to have an opportunity to work in the public service in service of people. I mean, so that was sort of a lot of my, my work history. And in all of that, I think, when I sort of now look back and reflect, it's not that unusual. And the reason it doesn't seem so unusual right now is because what really is the common thread there is that really it was in service of people, whether it was young people or in the senior, in the civil service for seniors or whomever. I mean, it really was just in service of people. And so running for public office was, I suppose, an extension of that, but it wasn't something that I thought about up front. It just sort of happened. And it happened because I also looked around and thought, we need to have a whole lot of people who look like me and a lot of different versions of me to be able to be those voices of so many of the people that I certainly represent, but Canadian women. So it's been terrific. And I couldn't find a better team led by a better leader that really gives me the opportunity to shine and to grow and to do my very, very best as as a minister.
That's amazing. And I believe strongly in the idea that you have to see it to be it. And I think that and I'm really passionate about seeing more women go into politics and government. And so, for you going in there, was there a mentor or somebody that helped to guide you along?
There were many along the way. And that's the advice I would give to women. I mean, find other women who have walked walked that journey and reach out. Find allies who want to lift you up and support you, and ask for that help. Don't be shy about that, because everyone, mentors, colleagues, all play a role in helping you build you, and it helps you walk in that journey. Walk in that journey to be, I guess, your best you.
And so what other advice would you have for, let's focus first on women in politics. What advice do you have for young women that are maybe thinking, wow, this could be a career for me, or those that are in it and want to get to that next level?
Well, I think that today there's a lot more of us around, which I think is absolutely terrific. I sit around a cabinet table where half of us are women, the other half are not, and it's and the diversity of the perspective that comes from all of us at the table. I think it helps us be better decision makers and in service of people. But I would say reach out. Serving in public office is only one of the roles in political life. There are campaign managers. There are people who look to outreach with community to build those wonderful community relationships. There are people who need to do the necessary and the really good fundraising work that is so important to keep our democratic system engaged and participating. So there are many, many roles, and it is terrific to see more and more women taking on many of those roles. So you should look around. Every single riding in the country, whether it's federal or provincial, will have something what they call a riding association or electoral district association. Municipal candidates as well, or office holders, like they usually have they also have have a public presence. So it doesn't matter sort of at what level. I would say look around and see what interests you and who interests you, and reach out. And if and sometimes you might reach out and the interaction may not be as much as you would like it to, and it just may be circumstances at that time. So reach out to the next person, right? And I can only speak for myself, but I love it when I'm able to do that with someone who's genuinely and who wants to be interested in civic life. I think that there's nothing greater than that level of volunteerism and that kind of commitment.
That's amazing. So I love what you said, because I know part of my history, I was in economic development and at municipal level. And I found going into it, there's all sorts of other roles that you have no idea about. So, what I encourage my daughters to do, and I'm sure what you were kind of pointing at as well, is the fact that, why don't you volunteer? And you there's all sorts of opportunities that you may not even know about.
That's exactly right. And if you think about COVID right now, in particular, I think COVID is what highlights it for all of us, right? Which is how important it is that volunteerism, that approach, which is be kind to your neighbor and to your friends, and to lend that helping hand. I've seen it time and time again. In fact, I have not been as proud as I am as a Canadian that I have been in these last number of months, because of the resilience that I see. Young women, young girls, just rolling up their sleeves and looking and just sort of saying, okay, you know what can I do, and how can I participate, and how can I help? And I think that there are many opportunities, but there are also opportunities that you make yourself too. So I totally agree. Encouraging young women, to do that. And I think we have a cadre of young women who are, I see them all the time, and they're leaders right from the get-go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about COVID as well, and then dive into entrepreneurship. But the one point I want to make is, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is that COVID also doesn't stop volunteering opportunities. I know my teenage daughter, she reached out to even Ryerson University and said, she's not there yet, but is there any volunteer opportunities? So would you agree with that don't allow that barrier? It's kind of an opportunity to learn resilience and kind of seek out new opportunities.
Yeah, I think that that's right. I think that many people, many Canadians have not let COVID stop them. Of course, we're doing things differently. Of course, I appeal to everyone to stay safe. I appeal to everyone to listen to the health guidance. And I appeal to all of us to do that in the health and safety of our fellow Canadians. But at the same time, what we're seeing is just this incredible will of people to just want to do their part so that we can all get through this. So no, don't let it stand in your way. Try to pursue some of those volunteer opportunities that may be out there, because you may be more needed. In fact, you probably are more needed now than ever.
Right. And so let's get into entrepreneurship now. That's an exciting topic for me as well. And entrepreneurs are struggling right now. And your government's done so much to support them. I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about what you're doing to help entrepreneurs and any advice you have for them for getting through this tough time.
Yeah, 2020 and COVID-19 has been very difficult for entrepreneurs and for our small businesses. There's absolutely no question about that, which is why right from the get-go, this government made it very clear, we're going to support Canadians and we're going to support our small businesses, and we're going to give them the support that they need, and we'll do whatever it takes. And I think you've seen our government do that. We put programs out very quickly, and some of them needed to be tweaked or they needed to be adjusted. By listening to Canadians and listening to entrepreneurs and businesses, that's what we have done. So when I hear and listen to businesses, during this time of COVID, they said, look, we have bills to pay and we need to be able to continue to do that. So in that, we've put out things like the small business loan. Businesses have employees. We don't want businesses laying off people. We want to help them so that they can keep people on their staff so that we can bridge through this period of COVID-19 and get them on that road to recovery. And we know that if an employer and employees stay together, they're better primed to be able to stay, they're better on that road to recovery, which is why we introduced the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, which is offering almost up to 75% covering wages for those businesses that are particularly hard hit. And then the other thing as well is, what Main Street have you walked through where your favorite place has had to close down, and they're closing down, thank you, because they're trying to keep people safe. But at the same time, it's been difficult. But they still have to pay the rent. The Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy is there to help businesses deal with the rent costs that they have to continue to pay. And right now, for us, we're here in the Greater Toronto area. It is under lockdown. And again, in an effort to keep Canadians safe. So that's why we have a lockdown support, which is, an additional support. So some businesses, particularly those that are hard hit and have to continue to pay rent, will get paid up to 90% of their rent paid. So all of these supports, and there are many, but those are the ones that I sort of often think, for small businesses, what's really important for women entrepreneurs and for women-owned businesses, help me pay for my people. Help me with that liquidity so that I can just maneuver around a little bit with some of that cash flow, and help me with some of the fixed costs that I have obligations to pay for. So those are some of our emergency programs. And of course, there are other supports that are there for people. If you're sick and you are looking after a loved one, there is a recovery benefit that is there for you. Our philosophy has always been, let's make sure we are supporting Canadians. We're all in this together, and let's get through this, and let's make sure that people don't have to worry about a roof over their head and or food on the table. And for small businesses, let's make sure we give them that support so that we could just bridge them through to the other side. And for women entrepreneurs, my goodness, they normally wear 1,000 hats. Mm-hmm. Now they're working just multiply that, right? They're wearing multiple hats. They are looking after, they're looking after kids. If you've got kids who are in school, they're at home with you right now.
Yep, we have two.
Yes. And you're looking after that, and you're also trying to run your business, right? So we have, I humbly lead the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy, the first ever of its kind in Canada. And we have what we call ecosystems. So we have national ecosystems and regional ecosystems, and they're there to mentor, to help support our businesses, our women-owned businesses across the country. We added some additional funding to make sure that our ecosystem partners are able to do that work, and then some during COVID-19. So just a range of supports to make sure that our businesses and women entrepreneurs are absolutely, are absolutely getting the support, including including adding to the Canada Child Benefit as well, right? Like just to make sure that there's it's that the additional expenses. So making sure that our social policies and our economic policies really are working in collaboration with one goal in mind, supporting our female entrepreneurs.
And I think it's amazing that your government sees it from that perspective, that it's a holistic approach that's required, that it's not a one-off, and also seeing, so, like you speak about with the impact to female entrepreneurs now having their children, and how are they taking care of daycare and homeschool and all these components. Are you also seeing some incredible potential future opportunities with women and other all entrepreneurs really innovating and being resilient and maybe coming up with new opportunities and ideas?
Absolutely. I meet with entrepreneurs and businesses across the country all the time. And what is really remarkable during this period, while one does not want to, of course, not acknowledge the challenges and how tough it is, I've also seen this remarkable, pivoting, this remarkable, entrepreneurial spirit where, a female bakery, right? On the East Coast. She would, incredible business, 5 employees, a couple of bakers, but, the rest were sort of, front office, or sort of doing the front and retailing. But, very early on, she said, I'm going to have to close down, but how am I going to flourish and how am I going to pivot? So, took our small business loan and decided to automate her ordering system. People still loved her cookies. People still loved her baked goods. So, the wage subsidy helped keep her staff on staff, and the loan helped her invest in an online ordering system. The staff who used to work the front counter now does the online, the ordering. So, that's one example. There are businesses who are also looking to grow into international markets. I led the very first virtual trade mission. We are adapting so that we can help our businesses grow into those international markets. So I led the first ever virtual mission. It was to South Korea. It was actually supposed to be a physical mission last February, and of course has to be postponed. But we just thought, we're not going to let COVID stop us. We're going to do that. So a lot of pivoting, a lot of incredible entrepreneurialism. So kudos to the businesses who are doing this. And and this is the other point about, you said see it to be it. That's what we're trying to feature as well. Businesses who are doing it so that others can see it's possible and draw some inspiration and maybe even just some assistance or some ideas, so that during this time, that pivoting and that innovating is very, very much part of that Canadian entrepreneurial spirit.
I think that's great because, we all know that this has had a devastating impact on our personal lives and also on businesses. But, at the same time, being able to see some good news and see some examples, we can learn from it. And so I definitely hope to feature more companies to profile that as well, because
Bravo.
I think we need that, right?
Yes.
And so, what about from the mental health perspective of, what would you say to that entrepreneur that maybe is treading water and overwhelmed? What would be their first step?
Well, I think that to those businesses, it is just hard. And, and I want you to know that we hear you, we see you. We have a wellness portal that is free of charge that we put out there, that we have launched. This is exactly what that is for. It's exactly to help Canadians, businesses who really might need that additional support right now, because it is incredibly stressful. It is hard. And mental health is something that we need to pay particular attention to. We need our Canadian businesses not only physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. So the Canadian Wellness Portal is there so that those resources are there for people who need to draw on it. And please draw on it, because that is what it's there for. We want to support our Canadian businesses throughout this journey so that we can see COVID in the rearview mirror, but get on that road to economic recovery. And we're going to need you.
That's amazing. And I'll do my part to try and list, when we send this out, any resources or opportunities that people can just click on and get started with. So, are there any final thoughts from the perspective of, what what advice do you have as a woman leader, in your career? What do you wish you knew when you were first starting out?
Well, I wish I knew this, but I think that this is also part of the wonderful thing of being a woman, but also also something I think we need to be conscious about. You can do a lot more than you think you can, and you don't need to be perfect or think that you've got to kind of get it all right. I think it's okay to look around, see someone who is doing something you already are or wanting to do, and reach out. So I think asking for help, there's no shame in that. In fact, it's I call that networking. I call that building connections and building relationships, and being confident that you probably know a lot more than you do, and you probably should give yourself a lot more credit. But we sometimes need that validation, and so go get it. And I think the good thing about having sort of that is that when we take on something, we really are determined to do well at it, and to give it our best. And I think that is wonderful. But sometimes that can hold us back. And I think that more and more of us who chart it and with the help of others we'll build bigger and stronger tribes together.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. And I think you're such an inspiration to so many women.
Well, Jennifer, thank you. And thank you for doing this. I think this is absolutely terrific that you've created this wonderful platform to have these engaging conversations and a place for these conversations and discussions to take place. I think that is really important. And, to your point, and I completely agree with you, to see it is to be it, and to share stories is also something that is remarkable. So thank you for your leadership and for everything that you're doing to add that voice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Barriers. If you would like more information on how Women Leadership Nation can help you thrive in your career, please visit our website and sign up for our mailing list. You'll receive exclusive content, updates, and new podcast episodes delivered right to your inbox. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, keep breaking barriers.